What is going on, everybody? Ben Morgan, Fins Up Network. We're hitting on another linebacker in today's NFL draft player profile. This time it's Washington State's Daiyan Henley, who was actually originally a wide receiver at the University of Nevada before ultimately transferring to Washington State. Now, he did spend 6 years in college, first 5 at Nevada, final year at Washington State. So he's 23 years old. He will be 24 during the upcoming NFL season, which obviously makes him a little bit older as a prospect. And obviously, being a wide receiver in the past makes him a little bit raw as a prospect. However, there's definitely some strengths. There's definitely some talent there that we are going to get into. But before we do, let's hear from you. You got thoughts on Daiyan Henley? You know the drill. Go ahead, drop them in the comments. Curious to see what you've got on this prospect. But as always, we'll talk some strengths, we'll talk some weaknesses, and most importantly, that fit, that potential fit with the Miami Dolphins in the event they select him in the 2023 NFL Draft. So let's jump into Daiyan Henley. You're going to notice right away, he's got a really good and quick first step, which ultimately helps him get into position to make plays all over the football field. And obviously, being a former wide receiver, he was actually a former cornerback as well. He's got the speed, he's got the athleticism to play in coverage, which we are just craving right now from our Miami Dolphins linebackers. He did have 4 interceptions in 2021 with Nevada. So we know that playmaking ability, we know that knack for creating turnovers is there. And the nice thing too is that versatility. He can line up numerous positions. You'll see him in that traditional middle linebacker placement. You'll see him line up as an edge rusher. You'll see him up the middle in that double A gap as a pass rusher as well, which really helps, obviously, with being versatile. But there are some people out there that kind of see that maybe being as a, I don't know if it's an outright negative or a weakness, but it's at least a little bit of a hindrance because they do play him all over the place. He's not really locked into one spot. He hasn't really honed in on one particular thing. So kind of take that for what you will. I kind of see it as a positive being versatile. Other people kind of see like, well, he's all over the place. He's kind of good at a lot of things. He's not great at one thing. The nice thing is, though, he can make a big hit. He can make a big hit despite that smaller size, and the amount of plays he's made, despite being fairly raw at the linebacker position, kind of gives you hope that the future is there. It's that untapped potential. You really see that there with a lot of the plays that he makes at the size that he is. But if you're looking at those weaknesses, being newer to the position, being a bit smaller, it's the obvious thing. Potentially being flushed out of plays, not being able to shed blocks if he's not in the right position right away. And he's also another guy that kind of relies on the guys in front of him. He needs that help from the defensive line, meaning he needs those teammates. They got to keep him clean. The defensive line in front of him, keeping him free of blockers, allowing him to just simply track and tackle the ball carrier rather than having to get off blocks, shed blocks, and then go make a play. But like I said, end of the day, he's simply raw. But that untapped potential, it's there and it's flashed, but he'll need some time. That's the biggest thing with Henley. I don't see him coming in and making a big contribution from day one. He needs some time. But man, when he does diagnose the play, he gets into the backfield and he finishes. That jumps off the screen when you're watching him. Now let's talk about that fit with the Dolphins, because being as raw as he is, which is actually more rawness than last year's 3rd round pick in Channing Tindall, you'd have to imagine Henley, like I said, kind of being in that backup depth guy during his rookie year with the Dolphins, which is perfectly fine. We got David Long, we got Jerome Baker, kind of likely expecting to get the bulk of the playing time at middle linebacker this year. Plus, we got Duke Riley. Like I said, hopefully Channing Tindall takes a step forward in year 2 as well. But I think at best, he'd probably get snaps kind of here and there, specific situations, hopefully more than like what Channing Tindall even got last year. But they'd likely focus in on 1 or 2 things that they feel comfortable with him doing. And then maybe he gets action in those type of situations. But the nice thing is that there wouldn't be that immediate immense pressure to get him on the field right away, which would, if he does, like if there was that need, like, oh, we're drafting this guy for a need, he needs to get on the field today. There'd be that pressure on him right away, and then there would be that opportunity to really expose those weaknesses because he wouldn't have had the time to really hone in on the craft and try to work on overcoming some of those weaknesses. So I kind of see drafting a guy like Henley as more of a move, more so for the future of the position. Give him some time to study, give him some time to learn the position at the next level with an offseason or two, with some preseason games, with getting help from a guy like David Long, from Jerome Baker, and then let him really flourish in the future from then on. So that is my take on Henley. I'm a big fan, but like I said, you're drafting a raw guy with a lot of potential. Now, whether or not that's a perfect fit in this scheme, who knows? Because, yeah, we definitely need some guys that can step in and contribute right away at that position. But at linebacker, it might be a little bit tricky, especially if you wait until the third round where a guy like Henley may end up going. You might have to settle for a guy that needs a little bit of that redshirt season, sort of like what we saw from Channing Tindall last year. But those are my thoughts. I do want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts on Daiyan Henley in the comments. Let's carry on the conversation there. But that's what I've got for today, Dolphins fans. Until next time, fins up.